Hello, so you missed the webinar. Honestly, lots of people have lots going on in their lives right now, and I get that sometimes it's difficult to dial in at a set time to come and join in what's happening. So I'm really pleased to be able to have this recording for you. We looked at neurofitness for the future of work and why mental fitness is no longer enough. You know, now more than ever, we're experiencing those feelings of isolation, of stress because the future is so uncertain, and exhaustion because we're really struggling to switch off and have those boundaries in place. So please grab a cup of coffee and sit back, relax, and enjoy this webinar. If you have any questions at all, please contact me, sarah@sarahbass.com.au, or you can go to my website, sarahbass.com.au, to download lots of free resources. And if you'd like to get my newsletter, that basically kind of just gives you one quote a week, one question to ask, and a tip every week. So it's short, sweet, to the point, and it will help you manage your teams to be more mentally fit. So just drop me an email and I'll pop you onto that mailing list. Okay, enjoy, and I'll hopefully see you at the next one. Bye. Okay. I've got you all on mute, and we're kind of waiting for people to come on board. So as we do that, I'd ask you to put in the chat box, if you've not used Zoom before, there's a chat box at the bottom. If you'd just like to introduce yourself, say your name, whereabouts you're dialing from. So if you're in Perth, what suburb you're dialing in from, and say hello and good morning to everybody. And we'll just do that as we wait for people to arrive. Hope you're all well this morning. Hey Jane, thanks for joining from Auckland in New Zealand.
Morning, Sarah, it's Bookie.
Hey Sarah from Perth, and Perth in the city centre. Hope you're doing well this morning.
I'm doing great,
thanks,
Sarah.
Gorgeous day today, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. As you're arriving, I'm just asking, as we're waiting for everybody to arrive, just to put in the chat box where you are calling from. So if you're in Perth, what suburb you might be in, your name, and yeah, just say good morning to everybody as we wait for people to arrive. And Tim, yes, the weather is beautiful. It's so great to have that kind of nice balance, right, of some sun, but it's not too hot. So yeah, so that's really great. We have people from so Bookie JFH. I don't know what that means, but great. Welcome. Oh, so Tim, you're up in Butler near me, up near where I'm from. And Bucky, you're at home. That's joining from home. Of course, really. Hey Fiona, we're just as people are arriving. If you've not used Zoom before, we've got the chat box, and I'll use that to do some interactions and everything with you. But while you're all on mute, I ask you to just introduce yourself, say where you're calling from, and which suburb you're in. If you're in Perth, most of us are calling from Perth, but we do have some people from other places, and we have already Jane from New Zealand. So yeah, so if you'd like to just interact, Gail's calling from Tapping, Fiona from Perth. And it's kind of great for us all to get together from different places around. I have over 50 people registered this morning. And so hopefully everybody got the message to try and come a little bit earlier for people, and please forgive me, I'm having to admit people, so if I get a little bit distracted with what I'm saying, that's because I'm kind of gone on to admitting people. So if you're just joining now, what I'm asking to do is, just while we wait for people to come, is to use the chat box. If you've not used Zoom before, you should find it at the bottom of your screens, and just introduce yourself. If you're calling from Perth, say which suburb you're calling from, and or if you're phoning from not from Perth, where you're calling from, that'd be great. And we'll get started shortly because it's a half-hour webinar. But what I've done is, because so many people have registered to attend, I've extended that to a full hour. So the first half an hour will be presenting the information, and then I'll open it up for questions, and you can find out more if you need to. Excellent. Morning, Fiona. June and from Edith Cowan. That's great to have you here. And we have people from lots of different sectors. So I know most of you. Some of you are with not-for-profits, education, the health service, and oil and gas sector, energy. So quite a mix of people are joining this morning. So the information that I will be presenting will be quite general, so that it kind of is of interest to everybody, and it kind of talks to everybody. So as we're just after past, I'm going to get started. And I will continue to admit people as they come, and we'll just continue on. So for those of you who have not used this technology before, which is Mentimeter, I will be using that to kind of get some feedback. And if you've not used it before, what you need to do is go to a search engine on your phone and type in menti.com. And what that will do is, oh, yes, if you can't see it on that screen, and you're just, oh, that's not very good. So you'll get to a screen where you will be able to, it will ask you for the code, and the code is 504375. So if you submit that code, hopefully what you'll do is you'll get a picture of this screen that you can see in front of you that I'm sharing with you. So can you just type in, yes, I've got that all working, and that everything's okay, that you've sussed out how to get onto Mentimeter, and yes, you can see me. So can you all hear me? Yeah, you can all hear me. So I think somebody said, Isabella, is that you? I think you can't hear me. It must be something to do with your end and your technology. So menti.com, it's on the top of the screen, menti.com, menti.com. Oh, I just did that to just one person. So, oh, no, there's Isabella. Sorry, a few more people to admit. So if you go to menti.com, I'll just put that on again, menti.com. Oh, autocorrect. Okay, menti.com. So what you'll get is a view of this screen. And so we'll get started as I'm going to run over time. So just to check in today, you should get a screen that asks you how you're feeling this morning. So if you just like to type in your words, it comes up as a word cloud, so each person isn't identified. So if you do that and then press submit, and we'll see how people are doing, and hopefully we will come up with some feelings, and we'll just be able to check in and see how we're all doing. So it's great to see most of you feeling happy. That's fabulous. There's some of you that are feeling under pressure. Great to see that relaxed, happy, grateful. That's fabulous. But some of us are feeling a little bit stressed, overwhelmed, under pressure, fat. That's not so good. I must admit, when I put on my trousers this morning, I was feeling a little bit fat too. So as you can see, there's a real mixed emotion of how we're all feeling. And what I'm hoping for is you can see from this that every day we turn up to work, we all have these mixed emotions and we're all in different places. And what I want to do is to create workplaces where it's okay to feel under pressure or stressed and frustrated, and that we can talk to each other about that, and that gets out into the open, we discuss it, but equally we're able to share when we're feeling great as well, and we can celebrate that. So thank you for that input, that's really great. So the question is, why is mental health not enough? So can you imagine if everybody that needed to wear glasses didn't? And the reason that they didn't was because there was a huge amount of stigma attached and prejudice against the wearing of glasses. What would happen is you would have 1 out of 5 people, that's the amount of people that need glasses, walking around with blurred vision. They wouldn't be able to perform at their best, and that they would be operating in a way that's suboptimal. Now, we know that 1 in 5 Australians every year experience symptoms of mental ill health. And what's happening is they are walking around not being able to be their best selves. And that's because 83%, research tells us that 83% of people say that that's because of the stigma attached. When we're experiencing that ill health, 36% say that they really don't want anybody to know about that. And part of the reason is 78% of us believe our jobs will be at risk if we disclose that information. So what I just want to talk to you about first is some of the definitions around mental health and the different status that we can be in regarding our mental health. So what is mental health? This is why, this is where we are able to navigate the daily stresses and strains that come about according to the World Health Organization. We're okay, we're doing okay, we're satisfied, we have a sufficient amount of energy, but we always hope that tomorrow will be a little bit better. You know, that whole thing of like, well, I plan to exercise tonight, but I'm just too exhausted, I'll do it tomorrow kind of syndrome. And part of that is that 80% of us feel that we're not able to bring our best selves to work, and that so we're kind of operating at that level where we're just not quite able to be our best selves all the time. The next thing to that is our mental ill health. So this is where we're feeling those stress, anxiety, depression, those everyday stresses and strains have become more than just occasional, more than just of the moment, or lasting a couple of days. They're lasting for a more prolonged period of time. And this is where we become very focused on our recovery. We're just taking one day at a time. And because of that, we're very focused on ourselves. And so we find it hard to collaborate with the people around us, because what we're doing is we're just focused on that recovery. So how can we collaborate with other people because we're focused on ourselves? 21% of us say that we have taken time off in the last year due to mental ill health symptoms. And that rises to 47% in mentally unhealthy workplaces. So if we leave this and we don't address it as it occurs, what we move into is mental disorder. Now, this is where it's acute, long periods of stress, anxiety, and depression. But also in this category are people that suffer from mental disorders like schizophrenia or bipolar and stuff like that. And when we're here, we're just focused on survival. And sometimes we feel like it's never going to get better and we can't see a way out. And this is where there's a huge risk, because people start to feel suicidal because they just can't see a way out. And it's really important that managers are able to recognise this feeling and what's happening with their employees. And there's some fabulous courses out there on mental health first aid that help you to do that. And I've got some great colleagues and friends that do that training. And so if you're interested, I can put you in touch with them. But the course and the programs that I run is very much focused on that positive and proactive side of looking after people's mental health and well-being and fitness. So it's important to say that we can recover from mental disorder if we have the right support of of professionals. And this is also where your employee assistance program can come in and help with that. But if we leave it unchallenged and untreated, then we lead to exhaustion. And when we're in this state, what we have is the fire is out and we're just surviving. And so what we want to do is we want to move beyond mental health. And that would be moving to mental well-being. Now, this is where we're happy. You know, we've got a harmonious workplace. We work well together as a team. There's great energy, atmosphere, the culture's great. But there is a downside to that. And that is that obviously when we're in that team and we've got that feeling, we don't want to rock the boat. And that can be a real challenge for the future fitness of the organisation, because we need to be confident and comfortable enough to be able to push the boundaries, to keep on improving, to keep on keeping up with technology and finding new ways of working and better ways of doing things. And that's how we make sure that we're future fit. Because this world, as we've all discovered, is in constant change and we can't predict what the future is going to be like. And we need to be able to react quickly and deal with those changes at a rapid pace. And so this is where mental fitness comes in. You know, we feel like anything is possible. We're fulfilled, we've got bountiful energy, and we pursue our purpose with vigour. And that means that we have a clear picture of the vision of the future, what our purpose is, how we help people, and we go after that. And we're really happy to challenge each other, challenge the status quo, and help improve the way that we do things. Research tells us that when just 70% of an organisation strongly agrees with that organisational purpose, we see a 34% reduction in absences. We get a 42% increase in decrease of safety instances. You want to decrease. There's 42% decrease in safety instances, and a 19% increase in the quality of the work that we do. So mental fitness really helps an organisation be future fit. And when we're thriving, it's like the fire is a light, and we are fulfilled and can see the complete possibilities that are open to us. So I'd like you to go back to your Mentimeter, and you might need to refresh the screen, or it says next question. And I'd just like to rank yourself as to where you feel on that spectrum, where you feel right now. And it's important to remember that that we can move from one area to the next, depending on how we're feeling at that moment in time. And it's really important, I think, to also recognise for the person that's feeling that disorder right now, please do reach out. There's some great helplines out there that are available to help us through this period of stress and strain that we're all going through. It's completely normal. If you'd like to get in touch with me directly, I'll happily point you in the right direction and talk to you about that. So interestingly enough, what you see right now is quite common in organisations. What I find is that there's a bell curve of distribution within teams and organisations where most people are at that mental health level. And we have people on the outliers to that. And the work that I do and how I help organisations is to shift everybody to the right. And that essentially means that you have more people in that mental well-being space and the mental fitness. And it allows them to really be fit for the future of work. And you just think about what the impact of getting everybody to the right will be on an organisation. So how do we do that? So this is the simple framework that I use. So the three key things that we need as individuals for good mental fitness is purpose, people, and energy. And what that allows us to do is thrive. And we get from that, the results of that is people are motivated, they're engaged, and they're empowered. All the things that we want to feel in an organisation where we work. And thank you. Yes, thanks for the framework, Haz. Yeah, it's simple. And what I will be doing is going through each of those areas and talking to you about what you need to do, why we need to do it, and how you can do that. So if we start with purpose. When we feel fulfilled, we first need to have a sense of purpose. What we get is, why is that acting funny? Here we go. Sorry about that. So we get the vision. So what we need is vision for our sense of purpose. And that is from an organisational level. We need to have a real clarity around, where is it that we're going? Why do we do what we do? Simon Sinek does a great amount of work in that about finding your why. And what it does is it gives us meaning. But if we don't have that, we actually become quite disassociated with the work that we do. And that obviously is a risk to our mental ill health. The other thing leaders can do is to provide clarity around what the team is doing. How does that team contribute to that vision, what their mission is? And when they're able to do that, they can give real inspiration to people. We feel inspired to do the work that we're doing. And without that clarity, we just have confusion. People don't know what they're doing and how they contribute. And obviously, when we're confused, we're not performing at our best. And the final area that we have is we need to know what our unique contribution is. When we're able to do that as to what makes us unique and how we're able to bring that to our workplace, we're actually able to really focus on how we can help people, how we can help deliver that team mission and organisation vision. Because without these things, we become incredibly stressed. And that's because we have that uncertain future and we don't know where we're heading. And we don't like that. As human beings, we really hate that. But if we're able to put the vision in place, know where we're heading, it releases what we call in neuroscience the seeker system. And that's about discovering the ways that we can reach our end destination. It's a bit like using Google Maps. You type in your destination and it plots a route for you and it gives you a choice of different routes. But along that route, if you decide that this looks interesting and this could help, you go and explore that and go off course. Your vision keeps you going in the direction you need to go, and it will correct where you're going and it will still get you to that end destination. So what we find is that in organisations with a strong purpose, 73% of employees are engaged, which is what we want. To achieve this, there's three things that you need to look at. We need to have a strong mission that links to that organisation vision. Sorry, I'm still admitting people. So welcome if you've just arrived. So yeah, we need a strong mission that links to the organisation vision. We need clear objectives and key results. Now, this is different to KPIs and goals. And the difference is that a clear objective and what that looks like allows individuals to find the unique way that they can get to that destination, rather than having a very, very strict and clear pathway to that. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to pivot more freely, and we can actually go with what the market needs, what we need to do as an organisation at a quicker pace. And finally, we can have job sculpting. And this is where we have about 60-70% of a role, which is clear and defined. But then we allow people to, depending on what their unique skills and competencies are, they can sculpt their job a little bit to adjust to that. So the second area is that we need people, and to feel connected, we need great people around us and relationships. Organisations can do this by having clear values of how they want people to interact, and this leads to having good respect between individuals and respect for the organisation and the work that it's doing. Without it, we can run the risk of contempt creeping in. The second area is we need to have connection, and leaders can really help with this, particularly at this time as we've all ended up working from different places. Some people are at home, some people are at work. And the role of the leader can really help connect people so that we have collaboration and that people understand how to best collaborate. Because without it, what we end up is with conflict. And the final area is, as individuals, we need to know how to communicate effectively. Because if we're able to communicate, we're actually able to have really good support of each other. And that allows us to actually talk about when things aren't going so great, because you know that somebody will have your back and will look after you. Because without it, we feel completely isolated. It's that difference with being a captain of the ship that promotes competition and teamwork. The one that promotes teamwork, if the ship's going down, they'll work together to keep the ship afloat. The one that promotes competition will have the situation where it's each man for himself and everyone would be bailing and leaving the ship. We've actually found some research by Holt, Lynn et al. In 2010, where they actually found that having bad social relationships can actually increase the risk of you dying more than smoking, which is a horrifying figure. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen and achieve that? So the first area is around the ways of working. So actually, how do we work together? What are the ways of working that we have in place? And how do we do that in the best possible way? It's the communication systems that we use. So obviously there's lots of stuff on Zoom, Teams, there's WhatsApp. So actually having real clarity and rules as to what and when to use different things. When, if something's an emergency, what should you do? If it's for fun and that social interaction, how do you do that? What's the appropriate way to do different things and communicate through those systems? And finally, we actually need to give some time for that communication. We need to have time that we can connect with each other and check in on that more social level. So the final area is our energy that we need. Energy gives us the resilience to keep focused on our well-being. And we've all felt that time when we know actually going and doing some exercise would be good for us, that we know long term that that would be positive, but actually what we end up doing is feeling too tired to do it at the end of the day, and we go, oh, it's too tired, I can't do that. So if we keep our energy stores stocked up, we're able to do that. Organisations can help with that around their culture. And if they're able to have a culture where joy is celebrated, where people feel able to take the time to look after their well-being, it's discussed, we have that joy. And without it, we basically have an unhappy workforce. The routines that we have are really important. So as a manager, what routines do you have in place? Do you work with our own internal circadian rhythms, or do we actually work against it? So our circadian rhythms are our natural bodily rhythms that we have that help us sleep, get together, and we also sorry, getting distracted with some of the messages, sorry about that. So yeah, so and we find that most of us are more productive in the morning, and we have a kind of dip after lunch. And so a cool tip is like allow people to in the mornings get on with their work and actually be productive, because that's when we're most productive. And then when we're having the dip in the afternoon, that might be the time that you have some meetings, because we get energy off people through those meetings. And the final area that we need to look at, is our behaviours. So this is how we behave with each other and what we do. With the behaviours, if we can put those in place, that we understand how we should be working, we have good boundaries in place. And this is really important actually at the moment, working from home. A lot of people are finding those boundaries blurring. And so helping people to put them in place, switch off from work, is really important, because without it, we're in danger of becoming completely exhausted from the work that we do. And that again leads to bad and poor mental health. It's a bit like we need a consistent energy source that we're able to draw upon. And it's a bit like online gamers. So my son always complains when the internet goes up and down. What happens with that is they freeze in place, and then we disconnect from what's happening of the game. And when we come back online and we're back with the internet connection, everybody's moved on, you've been killed, and you're having to start all over again to rebuild and restock that energy. So we want a nice, consistent connection to the internet, rather than this peaks and troughs that come in. Workers actually have reported that they feel fatigue, a good proportion of workers. The things that you can do, I've realised, to achieve that is have mental health on your agenda. Make sure that we're talking about it regularly. Have work-life balance. Obviously, this has promoted work-life balance for one of the policies, but like I say, we need to have those boundaries in place to help with that. And the third area is to take that positive action and to actually do something, and to make sure that we are able to achieve that, and put it on the agenda, talk about it, and actually take action to promote mental fitness. Okay. So that's me, the presentation done. And for those of you that could only stay for half an hour, then I understand that if you need to go now. I do have a white paper that goes into more detail on this, which you can actually find on my website, which is sarahbass.com.au. And so if you'd like to have more details, pop onto my website, there's a tab that's free resources. So go there and you can download my white paper. You can also subscribe to my newsletter if you don't already receive that, and get more tips and hints. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And hopefully that will allow me to see people and have a better view of questions.